All right, hi everyone. This is our practice test for Chapter 6A for Algebra 2. And so we're looking at our orange sheet here, and we are looking at 1, 2, and 3. And as we can see here, this is about our power rules. A couple things we need to remember. We should never, ever, ever have a negative exponent in our answer. So I'm looking at number 1 here. Sorry, guys, number 2 is kind of in our way. But number 1, when we have a fraction, I always want you to look to see, can we simplify? So I look at 20 and 15. I know they're both divisible by 5. So the 20 is going to become a 4, and the 15 is going to become a 3. Cross things off if you need it, just to remind yourself that you did that. Now, our A1, I see I have a negative on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring that up top. So now it's positive. Whereas our B7, it's negative on top, so I'm going to bring it to the bottom. Okay. From here now, we want to combine like terms. So on top there, I have all of those A's, so now we're going to add them. So I now have A to the 6th. We're going to do the same thing on bottom. I have B squared and B7, so now I have B to the 9th. Now our C's, on the other hand, I have some on top, some on bottom, so that means I have to subtract them. So I have more C's on bottom, so when I take 3 minus 1, I'm going to have C squared. I have no more negative exponents. I can't do anything else, so that is our answer. Okay. All right, I'm going to jump to number 3. For number 3, this time I really don't have a lot of simplifying. I could move that t, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm actually going to distribute this negative 3 here. Okay, and reminder, we have to distribute it to everything. So I'm going to have 5 to the negative 3. And when we take a power to a power, what we have to do is we have to multiply them. So I'm going to have r to the negative 6. I'm going to have 2 to the negative 3, and now I'm going to have t to the positive 9. So that's why I didn't want to move it, because now it's positive. I notice I have negatives, so I do have to flip those around. So the 5 to the 3rd, that's going to go to the bottom, whereas the 2 to the 3rd is going to go to the top. R6 is also going to go to the bottom, and then the T9 is not negative, so I'm just going to keep that on the bottom there. We can take this one step farther. We can grab our calculators, we can grab our power sheet, and 2 to the 3rd, that's really going to give us 8, and 5 to the 3rd, that's really going to give us 125, and I can't do anything with my letters, okay? So that's as far as we can go. I need everyone to remember that 5 to the negative 3rd, you do not tell me that does not equal negative 15, that does not equal negative 125. I do not want to see any of that, okay? It just tells you where you have to move it, okay? Number 2, I have to erase stuff for number 1, so hopefully everyone has that written down. Number 2 here, again, I could move my y down, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to distribute that 2. So what I have is 5 to the 2nd, I have 8, x to the 6th, y to the negative 8. These two, we're just going to bring those down, so I'm going to have x to the 4th, and y to the 7th, okay? From here, it's your preference. I like to move things where they need to go. I like to move around my positives and negatives. So I see that everything is positive except for the y. So that means the 5 squared is going to stay on top, x6 is going to stay on top, x4 is going to stay on top, y7 is going to stay on top, but y to the 8th is going to go to the bottom, okay? From here, I'm going to simplify. I'm going to combine like terms. My 5 squared, that's going to become 25. My x's, I'm going to combine them to equal 10. And my y's, I'm going to subtract them. So I'm just going to have 1 y on bottom because that's where I have more y's. Okay? So these are our power rules. As you can see, there's a lot of little places to make mistakes. Double check and really make sure you never ever leave an answer with a negative exponent. Okay? Our next section, 4 and 5, they should be very easy, but I always have people that make silly mistakes. So again, I'm grabbing my power sheet and I'm looking for my square root. So we're looking down the second power column. And reminder, whenever you square root, we do need to put a plus minus in front of our answers. So 169, it's on our list, and so when I square root 169, I'm going to get positive negative 13. Now 49 is on my list, but I can't square root negatives. They don't give me real answers. So this one, our answer is going to be no real solutions. Okay. Whereas our next one, it's a fraction, but both 25 and 36, they're both perfect squares. So I'm going to say positive negative 5 over 6. Okay. So that was square roots. Now my next one is cube roots. So we're looking down the third power. Okay. This time we do not put plus minuses, and it's okay to cube root negatives. So 216 is on our list here, so I'm going to have negative 6. So whatever sign is there, that should be in front. 64, the cube root of 64 is 4. And 343 and 125, those are both on there. And I'm going to have 7/5. Okay. So notice the difference between 4 and 5 and how we had to answer them. Okay. Now in our next section, this is where I see lots of silly mistakes when I grade our tests. So in this section, we are simplifying, and we need to make sure we're using our absolute value symbols. So a reminder, that's our even, even, odd rule. So that's when we have an even root, even power, and then we get an odd. And if I get an odd, it means I have to put absolute value signs. Okay. All right, so our first one I'm square rooting, and I see that 225, it is a perfect square. So I'm going to turn that into 15. And then I have a 2 here. And a reminder, what we do is we divide our exponents. So I'm going to take 4 divided by 2, so I'm going to have x squared. And I'm going to have y to the 5th. Now our even, even, odd rule just popped up because I have even, even, and 5 is an odd, so I'm going to put it in absolute values. I don't need to do that to the x because that's an even power. Okay, that was my easy one. Warning, they're just going to get crazy after this. Now 23, that is a perfect cube. Or 27, sorry, that's a perfect cube. So the cube root of negative 27, that's going to be negative 3. So whatever sign's in there, again, that just comes out front. And again, I'm dividing my exponent and my cube root. Oh, sorry, guys. So I'm going to have x squared. Again, that's as far as I can go. So that is our answer. Okay. Now, number 8, this is where things start to get a little crazy again. Now, 16, it is a perfect fourth, but 6 is not divisible by 4. 7 is not divisible by 4. So that's when we have to start doing things. So I'm going to split 6 between 4 and 2. So reminder, they still have to add up to whatever your power is here. The same with my y's. I'm going to split this between 4 and 3. So I can still add to up to 7, but now I have numbers that are divisible by 4. Okay, so now I'm taking the fourth root of 16, which is 2. If you want to cross things off as you use them, might be a good idea. X to the fourth is becoming x to the first, or just x. I can't fourth root x squared, so that does need to stay inside here. Y4 is becoming a y, and y third, that has to stay inside here. Now again, our rule is popping up. I have an even root, even power, and I have x to the first, which is an odd number, so I have to do absolute values. I do not do it around the y because I have an even here and an odd here, which because it's odd, I don't care about the y's. Okay, so as you can see, they're getting trickier. Okay, all right, we're going to do a few more of these. We're not going to do all of these because they start getting repetitive. Now 54, not on there, but 54 is divisible by 27. So I'm going to split this between 27 and 2. Now A2, there's no way to split that to have it be divisible by 3. So I actually need to leave it. And the same with B9, there's really nothing we can do there. So we're going to leave it as well. Well, there's something we can do, but we don't have to do it right now. So the cube root of 27, that's going to become 3. I can't do anything with the 2, so that has to stay inside. And the same with our A2, I can't do anything with that, so that will stay inside. But our B, I can divide that, so I'm going to have B to the third. Okay, and that's as far as we can take that problem. Okay, so as you guys can see, there's lots of little places to make silly mistakes, so it's very important that you pay attention to all of your powers. Make sure you always have your cube root. Make sure you don't forget that. Okay. All right, our next one, 98, not a perfect square, but it is divisible by 49. Okay, so I'm going to split that between 49 and 2. I don't have to split the s's and t's because they're both divisible by 2. Okay, so 49 is going to become 7. 6 divided by 2, that's going to become 3. 12 divided by 2, that's going to become 6. And I can't do anything with the 2, so that's going to stay inside here. Now, I hope again we're noticing I had an even odd, so I am going to put absolute values around my s here. Okay, and again, that's as far as I can take that one. Our last one we're going to do number 12. I'm not going to have you guys do number 11. I don't think you guys need that one. It's just a repeat of basically what number 12 is. So number 12, I'm just looking down my fifth power, and this one I'm going to split this one between 32 and 3. Okay. I need to split up my A7 between 5 and 2 and my B8 between 5 and 3. Okay. Now 32, it's going to become 2, but again, I need you guys to notice there's a negative there, so I do need you to bring that down. So I'm going to have negative 2 here. I can't do anything with my 3, so that's going to stay inside. A5, that's going to become A1 or just A. A2 can't do anything. B5 is going to come out front, and B3 is going to chill out inside. And that is our answer, okay? So on this page, there's lots of little silly mistakes that I see when people are doing their powers, okay? All right, we're going to do the backside, which applies a lot of this stuff again, okay? On number 13 and 14, I need you guys to remember what we're going to do is we're going to multiply our front numbers. And then reminder on these two, we are going to add our exponents. Okay. So on this first one here, I'm going to take 3 times 12. So I'm going to have the square root of 36. I'm going to add my y's. So I'm going to have y to the 8th. And now this should look like problems that we did on the front. So now I can take the square root of 36, which gives me 6. I can divide 8 divided by 2, so I'm going to have y to the 4th. And that's as far as we can take it. Okay. Our next one, I need you guys to notice we have numbers in front, so we actually have to multiply those first. So I have to multiply my 5 and my 3. So I'm going to have 15 here. I have to multiply my inside stuff, so I'm taking 4 times 32. I'm going to have 128. And then again, we're adding our exponents. Okay. This should look like a problem that we did on the front. 128, I'm going to split that between 64 and 2. X7, I'm going to split that between 6 and 1. Now, something we have to remember, we didn't see this on the front. When I take the third root of 64, I'm going to get 4 here. So remember, I have to bring down that 15, and we have to multiply it. Okay, so when I take 15 times 4, we're going to get 60. Okay, so that's covering all of this. I can't cube root 2, so that does need to stay inside. X to the 6, that's going to become x squared. And I can't cube root my x, so that's just going to chill out inside. Okay, so that's as far as we can go. So again, it's taking a lot of the rules in front that has a lot of places to make silly mistakes. Okay. All right, our next few problems, oops, sorry, too far, guys. Our next few problems are dealing with fractions. And again, whenever we have fractions, I need you guys to look to reduce. Okay, so always look to reduce your problems, make your problem easier. So I'm grabbing my calculator and I'm taking 180 divided by 5. When I do that, I'm going to be left with the square root of 36. Okay, again, crossings off if you need to. My x's, again like we did on the front, I'm going to subtract them. I have more on bottom. So when I take 7 minus 1, I'm going to be left with x to the 6th. My y's, I have 5 on top, 3 on bottom, so when I subtract those, I'm going to have y squared. As you can see, our problem just became way easier, and what's nice now is I can square root all of this. The square root of 36 just gives me 6. The square root of y squared just gives me y, and the square root of x to the 6th just gives me x to the 3rd. That's all we need to do for that problem. That's as far as we can go. Okay. Now our next one, if you notice, I didn't give you the hint to reduce because I can't reduce this one. There's nothing I can do. So then these are the problems that I know people didn't like. So I'm going to put a star next to this one for people to study. This one is where you have to multiply by what you're missing. So I see here that I have the 4th root. So that means I need 4 of things. So I only have 1 2. So that means I need 3 more 2's. And reminder, whatever you multiply to the bottom, I also have to multiply it to the top. Okay. On bottom, these are like terms. They're both 2, so I can add those. So what I have here is 2 to the 4th on bottom because I'm taking 1 plus 3, which gives me 4. Now on top, these aren't like terms because I have 9's and 2's, so we need to remember from our calculator, our power sheet, that 2 to the 3rd really equals 8. So what I have here on top is 9 times 8. Okay, so now our last step is always to simplify. I have the 4th power and the 4th root, so I'm going to cancel those, and I'm just going to be left with 2 on the bottom. Now on top here, I don't have that, so what we have to do is take 9 times 8, and I'm going to get 72. Now, reminder, both 72 are divisible by 2, but I can't do that because 72 is in a 4th root and 2 is not. So that's actually as far as we can go. So that is our answer. Okay. I'm going to say there's a lot of people that need to study that problem. It was very painful. Okay. Now 17 is a combination of 15 and 16. The fact that we're going to have to simplify and then multiply what we're missing by. Okay. So on this one, I can't do anything with the 7 and the 6, so I just got to bring those down. My x's, I can subtract those, so I'm just going to have 1 x on bottom. My y's, I'm going to subtract. I'm just going to have 1 y on top. And my z's, I also will only have 1 on top. Okay, so we simplified, and now it's like what we did on 16. I have a root on the bottom. I have a cube root, so that means I need to have 3 of everything. So I have 1 6 and 1 x. So that means I need 2 more 6's and 2 more x's. And reminder, whatever I do on the bottom, I also have to do on the top. Okay. On bottom, those are all like terms. So when I add up all my 6's, I now have 3 6's. I now have 3 x's. Now on top, none of those are like terms, so I just have my 7yz. 6 squared, I'm going to turn that into 36, so I'm saying times 36 x squared. Our last step is always to see what we can simplify. So on bottom, remember, I have cubes and cube roots, so those all are going to cancel, and I'm just left with 6x. On top, none of those are like terms, but the thing that we can do is grab our calculator and take 7 times 36, and when we do that, we're getting 252. Oop, I just hit something. 252, there we go. Okay. And then make sure we put things in order. So I'm going to have x squared, y, z. Okay. Now again, this stuff on top is in a root, the stuff on the bottom is not, so I can't take this problem any farther. Okay. All right, so those are our fraction ones. So reminder to look to reduce first. Now this one right here, this is when we're combining like terms. Now reminder, the only way to combine like terms is if they have the same root, okay? So 20, for example, I need to split this between 4 and 5, Okay. Now I see I have a 5 here and a 5 here, so there's a really good chance 80, I'm going to split it the same way. So when I look at my power sheet, I'm going to split 80 between 16 and 5. Okay. The 4 and the 5, that's going to become 2 square roots of 5. Now we have to remember we did this a couple of problems above. The 16, that's going to become 4, but I need to bring down this 3. So what I really have here is 3 times 4, which is going to turn into 12 square roots of 5. And then we're just going to bring this down here. Okay. So now I have 2 plus 12, which is 14, and then minus 7. So I'm going to have 7 square roots of 5. Okay. So in this one, we're combining like terms. Reminder, they need to have the same root. Okay. In our next section, we are foiling. So reminder, when you have a parentheses times a parentheses, we are foiling. I need you guys to notice that on 19, they have different signs, but same stuff inside. So reminder, something special is going to happen there. Okay, so I'm going to FOIL. So I'm going to have 49. When I multiply this here, reminder the 7 can go to the 2 because they're like terms. It can't go to the 3. So what that means is I'm going to write that as 14 square roots of 3. Same for the inside here, so I'm going to have minus 14 square roots of 3. And kind of then the same thing on the back here. So when I multiply all of this to this, the 2's can multiply together to be negative 4. And the 3's, we multiply the inside, so I'm going to have square root of 9. Okay, now it's our job to combine like terms. So my middle chunk, that's going to cancel. The 9, that's going to become 3. So what I really have here back here is negative 12. And then I'm going to combine like terms. So we're going to take 49 minus 12, and that will give us 37. Okay. So that's that one when signs are different. Now this one, reminder when you have a 2 here, that means you do not distribute the 2. It means you just write it twice. So what I'm going to have here is the square root of 11 plus 5. And the square root of 11 plus 5. And then we're going to FOIL. Now this time, though, I need you guys to notice they're the same sign, so middle chunk is not going to cancel. So what I'm going to have here is the square root of 121 plus 5 square roots of 11 plus 5 square roots of 11 plus 25. Okay. Again, we're going to combine like terms. The square root of 121, that's going to give us 11. I'm going to combine that with my 25 to be 36. My middle chunk here, this is going to combine this time to be 10 square roots of 11. Okay, so that's the difference between those problems when the signs are the same versus when they're different. Okay, now our last problem is kind of like our fraction problems above, that I have a root on the bottom and that's not allowed. So a reminder to get rid of it. We're going to multiply by the opposite, or the math term of it is the conjugate. So I'm going to multiply by square root of 5 minus 3. And whatever I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. On top there, I'm going to distribute that 2. So I'm going to have 2 square roots of 5 minus 6. On bottom, we're foiling, so I'm going to have the square root of 25 minus 3 square roots of 5 plus 3 square roots of 5 minus 9. Again, we're looking to see to combine like terms. Top, I can't do anything. Bottom, though, again, I can cancel my middle chunk. 25, that's really becoming 5. So on bottom here, I have 5 minus 9, which is going to give us negative 4. Now, I need you guys to notice this one has something important we have to see. All 3 of our numbers not in a root are divisible by the same thing. So if you're able to simplify, I need you to do this. We did this first semester. So all 3 of these are divisible by 2. So I need you to take them always to the next step. So to rewrite this, we're going to have 1 square root of 5, or just square root of 5, minus 3 all over negative 2. Okay, so that is where we're going to leave it. So just so you're aware, that might be on our test. All right, please watch this, study your notes, study your practice tests. All right, thank you.